Welcome to another edition of From the Vault, presented by the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame. Today we'll go deep into the archives to bring you the Michelin Enduroseries from 1994. The Enduroseries had three classes: Grand Sports, Sports Car, and Sports Class. It was the sports car series to race in the mid-1990s.
From Mosport, Ontario, TSN is proud to present the 1994 Michelin Enduroseries. Hello everyone, Vic Router along with John Powell for the first race of this brand new season. And we're at Mosport, which is without doubt one of the toughest circuits in the entire world and is a favorite with what they call the real drivers.
This track is very fast. It's a very quick track where the braking is not as important, but the high-speed corners and the handling of the car is very important. So it's fun for drivers who have a little bit more nerve. It's a little bit less technical, but it's a very, very fun track to drive on.
And John, we speak of real drivers. You teach here. I know you love the track. Let's take a look at the starting grid on pole. Kenny Wilden, Greg Wilkins in a Grand Sports Class Camaro sponsored by American Barrick and GM Goodrich.
Outside, Stefan Bayeux and Peter Overing in the Dykop 968 Porsche.
Driving solo will be Scott Maxwell in the Multimatic Ford Mustang. This Cobra is a factory effort from Ford of Canada.
Bob Johnson Chevrolet Oldsmobile sponsor the Chevy Camaro driven by Mike Hart and Paul Duckworth in fourth.
Mark Schill in the AC Delco Camaro Z28.
Sheer driving excitement, Nick Morant and Peter Lockhart in the BMW M5. Sponsored by Bell.
Camaros, all of them Grand Sports cars. They dominate the next two rows.
Lee Bentham and Scott Primo are two world-class karters, new to showroom stock type racing.
The top qualifying sports car will be Greg Stusek, Dave White, the Regal Talon, number 4.
Starting next to the Eagle will be another Camaro driven by the biggest names in motor racing, Ralph von Engelbrechten and Terry McDonald-Cadieux.
John Shirk has his Honda Prelude Sports Class. Steve Mulvey, Ian Phillips, their Nissan 300ZX. Top touring class car, Jocelyn A. Bear, Honda Civic Si.
Schmidt and Og in a 95 factory-engined Volkswagen Jetta. The Gray brothers driving a GS Camaro, and Rob Vining will be chasing the touring class win in an Acura Integra.
Armstrong Craig, their Nissan NX2000. The Busso brothers, a Plymouth Laser. Benoit Teague, a Honda Prelude, starting beside Moenick and McGrath.
24 cars, 42 drivers in a 3-hour endurance race. Some of the thirstier cars, like the BMW M5, will have to make 3 pit stops for fuel and driver changes. A tactical race, teamwork, a critical role.
The Michelin Enduroseries brought to you in part by iTech, clearly the best protection in sight. By STP. STP engine treatment, help protect against engine wear, start after start after start. And by Minidisc from Sony, the smaller, recordable compact disc.
From the Vault is brought to you by M-Zone, premium auto care, proudly owned and made by Canadians. By Recap Recovery Drink. By WeatherTech, for the perfect fit and ultimate in-vehicle protection. Nothing protects like WeatherTech. Order online at weathertech.ca. and by the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame. Visit our website for Hall merchandise.
Welcome back to TSN's exclusive coverage of this opening round of the Michelin Enduro Series from Mosport Park. 24 cars make their way through 9, around 10, and ready for the green flag. And on the pole, the black, Goodwrench number 3, Kenny Wilden.
As they approach the flag, the green is out. The Camaro gets a big jump on the Porsche. The Ford slots in behind.
And Jeff Lapsevich in his number 32 Tim Horton sponsored car, starting from pit lane Y.
They were late. They didn't make the grid, and if you don't make the grid, Vic, you have to start from pit lane. A big disadvantage.
You bet. And so all the way to the back of the field for Jeff Lapsevich as we take a look at the leader. This is Kenny Wilden.
Followed by Scotty Maxwell, a great move at the top of corner 2 to take over second. A little bit of Chevy Thunder winning this race, followed by a Ford Mustang, a Porsche 968, and Lockhart in the BMW trying to make up ground.
I always love these cars on this track because the weight, the different lines, the way they really have to throw the cars around and muscle them a little bit.
This is going to be a strategic race. Surprisingly, as Lee Bentham tries to come underneath Mike Hart and the other Bob Johnson Camaro, V8s are actually getting better mileage than the 6-cylinder BMW M5. So it's a tactical race, Vic, and this is the first lap, and already they're using the draft up the straightaway.
Wilden, Maxwell, then the Porsche of Veilleux.
Veilleux making a move, but getting squeezed a little bit by Maxwell, who hangs on with a tight line into corner 8. Followed by the 66 AC Delco car of Mark Schill in 4th place.
Through turn 10 for the first time, and it's the 0 car of Scotty Maxwell who's going to go it alone the entire 3 hours, holding on to second, but under a great challenge. Now the 66 of Mark Schill goes to the inside through turn 1.
A wonderful move. I have to wonder, why isn't that 968 going better? Do you think he's holding back there, Vic?
It is 3 hours, and again, you know, sometimes you try to race the entire 3 hours in the first 3 laps, and that's the danger.
I wonder if Veilleux isn't the most sensible. As Mark Schill locks up into corner 3, Lee Bentham's driving like it's a go-kart race in the 23 NTN Bearing car, trying to pass the second Bob Johnson entry, while, guess who? Kenny Wilden leads comfortably. I think the answer is try not to use up too much of your car, but some of these guys obviously haven't read the book. Watch the action here through 5.
The number 23, Lee Bentham. There's that BMW M5, Peter Lockhart on his tail, and he has dropped back considerably from the start.
They've gone into 2 groups at the front here. Camaro and Mustang, followed by Camaro and Porsche, then a break. Then it's Camaro, and BMW. Over the top of the Andretti straightaway, still Wilden leads from Maxwell, Schill, and Stéphane Veilleux in the Porsche 968.
Now, is there a little bit of a disadvantage in terms of drafting when you have cars of different make? You see the Mustang followed by the Camaro, then the Porsche.
I think strategy is playing a big thing here, Vic. They're heavy cars. They use up fuel, they use up brakes. And look at Lockhart will not be denied in the second group of 3. Veilleux seems to be driving a very smart race, but how smart can he be? Because he's not yet up front.
Kenny Wilden continues to lead, and then the train of 3 giving chase, still early in this 3-hour race.
The bogey is back in the second group, where Lockhart has already moved up 1 position, separating the 2 Camaros, pushing the BMW further up to the start. But 3 hours is a long time, and they have to conserve the automobile.
That's right, we forget about just how heavy these cars are, the effect on, first of all, you know, the moving parts, but the tires as well.
The tires, the brakes, the fuel, 1.5 tons of metal and horsepower, and they are right up on Schill. Now, it's interesting. The strategy has to be to make the car last, to get into a rhythm, to pace yourself, but Stefan can keep worrying away at Schill, and Schill has to resist the temptation. Look in his mirror.
But how difficult that is for a racer to not want to go racing all the time.
It takes a lot of discipline. And talk about discipline, Schill is in second, the Mustang is third, the Porsche fourth, and Lockhart is fifth.
And look at who is moving on up. That purple Honda, that SRV, is number 28. That's John Shirk. But coming up quickly, Jeff Lapsevich. Remember, we saw him start from pits. And look at him moving up quickly. The difference in class, his car compared to that 4-cylinder Honda.
That's exactly right. Just behind John Shirk is Dave White's Eagle Talon, second in sport class.
Lapsevich is moving on up. You know, the interesting thing about endurance racing is there's class within class. This is the touring class, the Acura, the green car. That's Rob Vining trying to hold off that gold prelude of Benoit T. It really is nice. You come here, you see 3 different races.
That's exactly right. Look at these front drive cars as they go through corner 5. Teague's right rear wheel, right off the ground. They go up the back straight. Teague closing in Vining, up on Vining, and Vining moving around, trying not to give too much away up the draft.
Now, when we're talking about classes, is it horsepower, is it engine output, particularly that is the difference?
Vic, it's a power to weight ratio that separates the cars. How much power they've got, how much weight they've got, that puts them in the different categories. As these two, Teague and Vining, fight each other, it's fascinating to see. You know, I think the strategy has to be that if you wanted to get good fuel economy, Vic, you'd just follow around the racetrack for 3 hours.
In other words, let the first car do all the work and you benefit by it.
That's right. Stay in the draft and then lead on the last lap.
All right, let's go right back up front. The Grand Sports, the 88. Look at this. Veilleux has passed Schill and moved into second place.
That's it. Veilleux was, whoa, he just made a big miscue at 5B. But obviously he's trying to conserve the car and yet make the moves. Schill must not be a happy man.
And you know, let's just go back to that power to weight ratio thing. Look at who's moving up. This is a 4-cylinder car, 8-cylinder car, followed by a 6.
That BMW making ground. Peter Lockhart, an extremely professional, very disciplined driver. You know him well, Vic.
Indeed, I've followed him for a number of years through all kinds of series, and this is a very pretty, very fast car.
Of course, you know that Lockhart won 2 championships for me racing on my racing team. As Veilleux stays in front of Schill, Lockhart gobbles up Schill. There's an interesting battle that's going to be resolved. Lockhart's going down inside of corner 1. I don't think he's got enough to make it.
Oh, now who's got the line? Don't speak too quickly. He's got him.
That old smoothie gets right in there and stays there. Schill moves back 1.
The student said something to the teacher right there, but it was all because Schill got a little wide.
That's right. Both Peter and Mark, in fact, I bet you 50% of these drivers in the field have been to my racing school at Mosport. Schill, a little bit locked up at the rear. I think he's used up too much of his car.
Already.
Already.
And that's the danger, as everyone continues to chase down Kenny Wilden, who has led right from the green flag.
I'm not sure they're chasing Kenny down or if they're just trying to keep up, because Wilden is doing a masterful job in the GM Goodwrench car of staying ahead of the field. He's hardly in camera range. Look at that. Wilden got to have at least 5 seconds on Veilleux, followed by Lockhart in 3rd place. Wilden looks awfully strong in 1st place there, Vic.
And in 1st place in sports class, continuing to lead, John Shirk.
Also strong. He's got a good lead over the 2nd place guy.
David White in the Eagle, followed by the 3rd place Gunther Schmidt in a VW Jetta. You know, you come to an event like this as a spectator, you drive up in your car, and then you cheer for a similar car on the track. That's what makes endurance racing so much fun.
Vic, it's easy to cheer for John Shirk's car. That purple paintwork is instantly recognizable, and Shirk's doing a great job of the second place Dave White Talon.
Now, we talked earlier about this car, Gunther Schmidt, the VW Jetta. That is a factory car.
Great race in touring. Vining's Honda from Mark Craig's Nissan, Hebert's Honda, and the Derek Mernick Nissan.
Now, as they come into turn 5A and B, this is an interesting corner because really you can't set yourself up for one, you have to set yourself up for two.
That's right, and you've got to get the second one right. And obviously that Nissan's a little crossed up.
And we have a change of lead in touring class as the gold Prelude, number 16, Benoit Teague, has moved in front of Rob Vining in the Honda Prelude, and Mark Craig in his Nissan, number 33, is giving chase there as we ride on board now with Mark Craig up Mario Andretti.
He's chasing Rob Vining's Honda Prelude. Mark is third, behind Vining and Benoit Teague.
More when we come back to Mosport. Welcome back to this opening round of the 1994 Michelin Enduro Series here on TSN. As we run down all three classes, a chance for you to have a look for your favorite driver, and we check out what's happening in the sports class. Shirk in that Honda Prelude ahead of David White in that black Eagle Talon.
And the Jetta GLX hanging in behind there. That's a great battle for the sports class.
And again, this is the interesting comparison. We talked about the classes, that this, Honda Prelude, this Eagle Talon aren't similar in terms of construction or manufacturer, but here they are equal on the track.
Power to weight says it all. I think White's doing an excellent job.
Into the pit for Jocelyn Hebert in early, lap 12, and they've gone right to the right rear. Could be a tire problem.
They've got a tire ready to put on. The mechanic's putting it on. This is a costly stop, Vic.
Now this is still early in a 3-hour race.
They've taken the wheel back off again. They're looking inside, touching the rotor. That is hot. They're wearing protective gloves. They've got big problems, Vic. Back to the sports class. Shirk and White locked in a battle through corner 5. And I think White is gradually be making ground in the Coca-Cola Talon. Let's switch to this in-car handicap shot. He's in the draft. He's pulling out. I think he's pulling out early, don't you, Vic?
You would think that he'd be right up under the bumper before he goes, but look at this. Enough of a draft to pull himself up and by Shirk and into the lead in touring class.
Very decisive move there. He's pulling away. Maybe Shirk's in trouble. That's a big change very suddenly.
And Jocelyn Hebert still in the pits as they continue. Now it looks like a shock absorber assembly that may be the problem. And despite the fact it's a 3-hour race, that length of pit stop is going to kill him.
Yeah, he's going to be severely handicapped, Vic.
Look at now the battle for second. Peter Lockhart having a look and all over the car, the Porsche, Stefan Veilleux.
I think Veilleux got a surprise there. Lockhart went inside. He wasn't quite expecting that. That probably unsettled him. Lockhart's very canny that way, rattling the driver. They've got a long race to go yet. There he's making a move again. Down through corner 1. We've seen him do it to Schill, and Lockhart does it again.
My goodness, it's all about line and how you get it. And here, have a look from in-car, Peter Lockhart.
As they come through 8, 9, into 10. You see, Veilleux went a little bit wide there, missed the apex. Lockhart had good momentum. It actually, from inside, shows that Lockhart had a much easier job of it than we saw.
And look at there, Kenny Wilden, that's your leader. You see the marshals waving the blue flag to some of the back markers to move on over because here come the leaders.
But look how the Kenny Wilden does that. He's drafting that slower Camaro, getting as much momentum as he can, augmenting his speed to preserve fuel, keep ahead, and passes John Shirk into corner 8.
And all the while, of course, putting some cars between himself and the second place car, Peter Lockhart and Stefan Veilleux.
So Schill has dropped back, Lockhart has moved up, and Wilden continues to lead this 3-hour Michelin Enduro Series.
Now Stefan Veilleux looking for possibly the same kind of mistake out of Lockhart to regain second place. Surprising the amount of momentum that you lose, coming out of a corner. You don't throw yourself out properly. To pit lane again, and this time it's Ian Phillips, his Nissan 300 ZX.
This looks terminal. The hood's up. Twin turbo V6. I think they're in deep trouble.
When you bring the prop out, does that mean something?
It's a long stop. Within 3 hours, you just can't handle it.
It must be frustrating to be in there. You know you've got 3 hours and there's nothing you can do about it.
20% of the race through and you're done for the day. That looks pretty terminal when the hood goes up. But it's a long race and the strategy is very interesting. The races within races, even if the cars aren't in the same class, if they are matched evenly, they'll race together. Gunther Schmidt is doing an excellent job closing on the John Shirk car.
Ian Phillips, his problems continue in pit lane, and he's not going to get out of there too quickly, it would seem.
We should mention our racing audience is well aware that these cars have in-car radios. Inside the helmet is a microphone. On the steering wheel is a little button that they can press to talk, or some teams use a voice-activated microphone. They're constantly talking back and forth, giving information. Some cars have data readouts to let the pits know what sort of fuel mileage they're getting. Occasionally, when I was running my team, I'd talk to Peter Lockhart. He'd say, "I'm busy." And he used to drive me nuts. But, how can you blame a driver driving at 150 miles an hour on a racetrack and some guy in the pits is saying, "Well, how much gas have you got?"
Surprise into the pits. This is Scott Maxwell in his Mustang, and he's in for fuel.
Don't shut it off. Do not shut it off.
As we eavesdrop on the conversation between Scott Maxwell and his crew, look at this, the lead, how it's closed up. Peter Lockhart has really picked up some space on your leader, Kenny Wilden, as we go back to pit lane and listen to Maxwell's team.
How do the tires feel? Fine. We over a minute? Fuck, we got a leak. We got a bad leak. Hang on. Can't hear you.
High drama here, Vic.
Hold on, we got a bad leak.
Maxwell was doing a solo drive. He had to do a 90-second pit stop. He had a chance, but now they found something
I think
serious.
the tank's got a hole in it.
Now you can hear the crew chief just say they found a hole in the gas tank. So Scott Maxwell's day would seem to be over unless they can make a quick repair. Certainly he won't contend for the lead, as these two cars are, Kenny Wilden and Peter Lockhart.
The BMW gaining ground as the fuel load lightens and they come closer to the pit stop window, and there's the Jetta chasing John Shirk in the
sports class. And this Jetta surprised you a little bit?
Absolutely. Gunther Schmidt's just an outstanding driver here, doing a great job in a car that you wouldn't normally think would be. We've got Vic.
Upside down, Mark Schill is upside down in his 93 Camaro.
We have to hope he's all right. As the pace car goes out, we'll let you know as soon as we can if Mark Schill is all right. The pace car will go out, slow down the field while the rescue crew go.
Is that outside of turn 2 again?
That's it. Thank goodness. Schill, he's waving. He's okay, and thank goodness for that. But that Camaro is a used race car. Right over the wall.
It's a remarkable thing as the leader is into the pits, and we're going to have a driver change.
A surprise driver change. Greg Wilton gets in during the yellow flag. That puts Lockhart in the lead, but the notice that you must see on the rules is that teams have to spend a total of 90 seconds in the pits for fuel and or driver and tire changes, but they cannot use the stop to count towards their mandatory pit time. But they've done a driver change, and they're away in good time. Of course, in the yellow flag, they've got lots of time to do it.
The car was good. We were, we're really short shifting because we're not sure of what our fuel mileage is going to be. But, thank Goodwrench, we've got a good car here, and Barrick, good team. I think we're just trying to find out where the fuel situation is going to end up. So we were short shifting, and we were letting the Beamer and that catch us because we wanted to stay at our proper shift points, but we'll have some left at the end.
Now that's interesting as the pace car continues on the track, short shifting, allowing the Beamer to catch up.
What he's saying is he's shifting early. He's not using as many revs. He's driving on the torque of that big American V8 engine. And yes, he was letting Lockhart close up. But you see the strategy here. Greg Wilkins is now driving the car. They've done a driver change. They're within their pit stop window. When they get the green flag and it's coming out, green flag is out. While they're at the back of the field, don't forget, Lockhart still has to stop. And he's now in the lead, followed by Stefan Veilleux. But there's a pit stop coming up for this young man and a driver change.
But it's going to be a fight, I would think, for that number 3, that Camaro, to work its way through the field.
I think it's less important than you might think because don't forget, we're not even halfway through this 3-hour Michelin endurance race.
So Peter Lockhart in the BMW M5 is your new leader after the restart, and here comes that black number 3 Camaro.
What a good job Wilkins is doing cutting through the traffic. Notice that Lee Bentham is hooked up behind him in the Camaro trying to make time as well.
And he knows as well that Lockhart still has a pit stop. Now in each Enduro Series race, we'll present the iTech High-Tech Report. Computers have many uses in motor racing. In the Michelin Enduro Series, the officials need an objective way to make sure that no illegal tampering has been done to the cars to keep the racing fair and close. A leader in this type of equipment is the Bear 400, distributed in Canada by SPX. For the Enduro Series, the equipment serves 2 important functions. It helps the race officials and tech inspectors to verify that engines have not been modified beyond legal specifications. In other words, the Bear 400 maintains a level playing field. It is also available at every race to assist competitors in diagnosing any problems they may be experiencing. Rob Vining in his Acura continues to lead in touring class. And we've got a great battle, John, going in the sports class. David White in that Eagle trying to hold off the brand new 95 Jetta of Gunther Schmidt.
Will he get him? Going inside.
Oh, he gave him actually the...
Almost as if he decided that he's going to let him go.
Well, he did. Did you not see the hand come out of the left side of the car?
No, I missed that, Vic. Your eyes are sharper than mine as we watch Lockhart. And Lockhart leads after 48 laps from Veilleux and Wilden.
That's in Grand Sport. Rob Vining, we showed you in his Acura leading touring. And we have a brand new leader, of course. Schmidt in his Jetta leads in sport. Welcome back to Mosport. Vic Rudder along with John Powell as we look at the leader, Peter Lockhart, in his BMW M5.
His pit stop window's coming up pretty soon. You're going to see, I'm sure, Lockhart entering the pits.
And in fact, you see him right. He is pulling right into the pit lane entrance, and here he comes. Now, time, all important, 3-hour race, but this is going to be probably gas, probably tires, driver change.
Yep. It's his friend Nick Morant's going to take over. Nick, not quite as quick as Peter, but a very nice guy, very competent driver. But don't forget, they've got to keep the car running and they've got to keep the car whole.
And remember as well, because of this pit stop, Stefan Veilleux, he has taken over the lead in his Porsche and will be keeping our lead as well on Wilkins, who has now moved into second place because of the Lockhart pit stop.
Veilleux still has to pit. Wilkins is in second, Primo is in third. And in sport, Schmidt, a fine job leading White and Shirk. In touring, Vining is currently leading Craig and T.
And it's interesting how all these pit stops, the little shuffling that goes on. Veilleux now, do you think he can build up enough of a lead, enough of a time to get in and quickly do everything to maintain the lead? As Morant is in the car, they've gassed it up, and out he goes.
A clean exit onto the pits, and there goes Nick Morant from Unionville, Ontario. And to answer your question, he'll have to go some to catch up.
I hope that Nick has he can get used to the conditions quickly, because it is a little more slippery than I think I didn't bother to tell him it was slippery, so he won't worry about it. He'll find out for himself.
Now that's not much of a team player, and I'm only going to say you should tell him, shouldn't you?
That's a vintage Lockhart remark. He probably forgot as White is drafting by the Schmidt Volkswagen and taking over that spot.
So David White, who gave up the lead in the class a couple of laps ago, gets it right back. And that is, of course, a favorite spot at Mooseport at the top of the straight.
Gunter Schmidt in the Jetta may be pitting. No, not this lap. At least one more lap for sure, due for a driver change.
And of course, the pit stop, if it is next lap, will come with him now in second place in class. As we look at touring, and you see the Acura, that is Rob Vining, and he's got a little bit of space between himself and that gold car, the Honda Prelude of Benoit Teague, trying to keep pace with him. And of course, that other car, that 32 Tim Horton car, the Camaro, that of Jeff Lapsevich, who has had a disappointing day, starting from pit lane and now finds himself back in the field, fighting it out with cars in another class.
It looks like about 10 seconds between White and Og at this point. So inside that window, Vic, you said they've got 90 seconds over 3 hours, so it's a question of whether they can do a driver change in, say, a minute. They can make it. These cars are running about a minute 35, a minute 40-second laps.
You would think that that kind of thing could be done much more quickly. Look at, there goes Stefan Veilleux again. Lapsevich, oh my, Lapsevich, I don't know if he saw him coming, but it forces Veilleux out a little bit. Now Lapsevich will give way.
Twice that's happened to Veilleux. It happened to him earlier on with Rob Vining. The risk of not being patient or waiting is when you put a wheel off like that, you can cut a tire, you can do damage to your car, you can do damage to wheel bearings that could be very costly for Veilleux in the Dicom Porsche 968.
As we look back, this is the car of Nick Morant. Peter Lockhart is his teammate. Of course, they've made the driver change. Morant is running in 6th position.
He's gone down considerably. Now Veilleux is the leader. Here is Wilkins in the Camaro in 2nd place. And I think we're going to have some changes.
Well, he is currently 2nd overall in class, but as you mentioned, and quite rightly, Veilleux has yet to pit. And it's interesting, it's a mind game, isn't it? I mean, if you are a minute behind as a driver, your emotions are going to say, well, how am I ever going to catch this guy? But you have to be reminded, I suspect, that the other fellow has to pit.
And that's the pit strategy, talking on the radio. The team manager is going to talk to you. They're going to say, Wilkins, relax, you're doing fine, you're within your window, just keep it smooth, keep it steady, try and shift below a certain RPM to get good fuel mileage, and the race will come to them. Right now, Wilkins is in 2nd place, and the race has to come to him, so he has to be reminded of that. And you and I both know Veilleux has to have a pit stop. Now, it's only 90 seconds, so it's still a very tight window for them to deal with. So the strategy, of course, is get Veilleux make a big enough advance over Wilkins and still pit.
And there is your leader. This is Stefan Veilleux going on the outside of Jeff Lapsevich through 7. Will stay behind him. Now, will he pit here? You would think he has to eventually. And we'll watch and see if he heads. Yes, now he'll head into pit lane. So this is the window of opportunity for that Wilkins Camaro.
The Talon team continue to impress in this 3-hour Michelin Enduro race. They really have it down right. Doing an excellent job maintaining the pace that they think they need to win. And we've seen it again and again. The race comes to you when you're patient. The Wilkins-Wilden team have that power in their hands right now.
Some cars easier to handle. Do you like front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive?
What a thing to ask a Chevy man. I like rear-wheel drive Camaros best, and Wilkins leading here.
Well, we have a spin, and yes, in the middle of it again is General Lou McKenzie. We saw him spin earlier at the top of the straight going through 7 and 8. Well, here he spins it in Moss Corner 5A and 5B.
This is called a field operation for General Lou. But really, he should be keeping it on the black part of the racetrack.
Yeah, I don't think you have to tell him that. It's been a rough ride for the retired general. As we look back and look at this, now it is Greg Wilkins all over the bumper of Nick Morant.
This is the battle of co-drivers. Here we have Lockhart's very fast BMW being driven by Nick Morant, doing his best. The Wilden Camaro very fast being driven by Greg Wilkins, and Wilkins closing in.
And we've got the Alistair Oak Jetta into the pit lane at Mosport, while at the same time coming out, the leader in touring class, that is Rob Vining in his Acura Integra. Interesting, that's the second stop now for that Jetta. I wonder if that's a bit of a surprise in a 3-hour race.
Well, they have 90 seconds. They've done a driver change in some fuel. Maybe they need more fuel as well. But I thought they were maybe changing a tire as well. We can't see it back in the pits right now. Vining's looking pretty good right now, though.
That's right. We should remind everyone you have to have at least 90 seconds worth of pit stops in the 3-hour race. Your leader in touring, that is the number 18. That is Rob Vining.
Behind Vining is Lee Bentham in the NTN Bearings Camaro, and this is the number 2 Sony car. You know, that is Paul Duckworth in the sister car for the Bob Johnson team.
Oh, and out of the pits and quickly spins it off at turn 5A, right in between 5A and 5B.
Maybe that stop was for a problem. That's not characteristic of Oak's driving, that he'd lose it like that. So they may be in trouble. Now, Paul Duckworth has quietly moved up to 3rd place in that number 2 car, and Wilkins is due for a pit stop in the team sister car. That's Duckworth, 26, works at his dad's GM dealership, Bob Johnson Chevrolet, doing a fine drive. I taught Paul how to drive at Mosport, but I didn't tell him to get and try and pass someone at the apex of 5. And into the pits now, Greg Wilkins. They'll do a driver change, and while Wilden is getting in, their sister car with Paul Duckworth, car number 2, will go into the lead. This is looking pretty good for the Bob Johnson team.
And isn't it interesting? That's what you talked about earlier, you know, how patience pays off. There was Paul Duckworth in a car that really we haven't taken much notice of the entire race. And here he is now suddenly finding himself in the lead position with the sister car in the pits.
You're watching the GM Goodwrench technician checking the left front wheel of that Camaro. Notice the edges of the tire were perfectly intact. They're not overdriving the car, Vic. They got lots of tire left. If you push too hard, you wear the edges off the tires, they don't stick as well. And here's Duckworth moving into the lead now. Boy, this strategy sure is coming home for them. I would expect another change. Change? That's Peter Overing, and they just spun away their hopes for this one, I'm sure.
Let's remember they had that problem in pit lane, the stop and go penalty, now the spin. So after leading, all kinds of problems for that Porsche. This is the leader, this is Duckworth.
What a great race for the Camaro Sony-sponsored team. Greg Wilkins, Kenny Wilden paired up with, here they're going out again. Wilkins and Wilden behind the wheel now. There's a miscue here.
Oh, I see they're waiting for their mandatory 90 seconds, and now they're gone.
You got it, Vic.
They have to wait for the 90 seconds, and now they're out. And in comes your leader.
That's Paul Duckworth, and the strategy here has to be for Duckworth pit for fuel only. That'll put Morant into the lead. You know, the BMW is counting on a one-stop race, but they're already out of it because they pitted at 1 hour and 26 minutes. That's not quite halfway, so I don't see how Morant could make it.
The leader is in, but for the time being, Morant in that BMW takes over the lead. Today's race is brought to you by Prestone, more than just an antifreeze. by Minidisc from Sony, the smaller, recordable compact disc. Welcome back to TSN's coverage of this opening round Michelin Enduro Series. Into the final few moments now. Grand Sport, Lockhart, Morant, they continue to lead.
And the sports class, a great battle with the number 4 Eagle driven by Greg Stusek and John Shirk in second in the Prelude.
And nearly they have had a great battle. This Eagle holding this Prelude off. They've been nose to tail underneath each other's bumper back and forth. It's been great. Now coming up, watch coming over the crest of the hill. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. There it is. There's your Grand Sport leader. That's the BMW M5. Nick Morant behind the wheel. One pit stop, John. Question is, do they have enough fuel to stay out the whole way, while at the same time, here comes the second place. That's the Camaro. Kenny Wilden looks like he's going to put a move on him shortly.
As you saw them come down corner 2, Morant doing an excellent driving job, but Wilden carrying far more speed down corner 2. And he's closing in rapidly. Down the chute into 5A. There's no way he's going to be held back. As we wait for it out, what they call 5C underneath the Coca-Cola Bridge. Here they come.
As we ride along now, this is the Wilkins Wilden car, their Camaro, the number 3, and it is Wilden, Kenny Wilden behind the wheel. Now let's see if he does draft and pass.
He's moving to the inside over the crest of the Andretti straightaway. 10 minutes left in this race. And he's gone right by.
Yeah, there's a little bobble right at the top under braking by that BMW.
Morant wasn't expecting it. I think he was too comfortable. But whatever, the Camaro now leads the race. The number 3 GM Goodwrench car with less than 10 minutes left. This has got to be a decider. Here comes Rob Vining in Touring, and he's leading the number 4 car, which is second in sports. And it's in trouble. Did you see that smoke, Vic?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was engine smoke, probably more brake smoke, because he looked like he had to lean on it pretty hard.
Locking up the rear wheel, he doesn't need that problem. Maybe that's why Stusek is losing ground to the second place John Shirk.
All right, let's take a look here. Let's bring you up to date. That aqua-colored Acura, that is Rob Vining. He is your leader in Touring. Going by in the Eagle Talon, that was Greg Stusek. There he is, currently running in second place to John Shirk and his Honda Prelude. That is in sport class. Didier Schreinen, and right behind him, there's your leader in sport class. That is John Shirk. Going so well, John, as to put a lap possibly on a car in another class.
That's right. It's unusual, but Shirk is looking awfully strong. Less than 8 minutes to go in this 3-hour endurance race. Shirk looks pretty. Wow.
And yeah, this is what we wondered about. Could that BMW M5 go the distance without more fuel? Now we know it couldn't.
It's a splash in a little bit, and look over the pit wall. They're waiting. Did you hear him on the radio? Yes, you're right. That is Paul Duckworth in the number 2 Camaro. And goodbye, Nick Morant. Go your chances, because as they're pulling out, Paul Duckworth moves into the top 2 spots with Wilden.
So the team cars are running 1 and 2. Wilden and, of course, the Duckworth car. As Morant gets back, the little splash and dash will leave him 3rd behind that number 2 Camaro of Paul Duckworth.
What a disappointment for Morant. And my goodness, we have a rollover in corner 5. Can you see who it is, Vic?
Lee Bentham from Richmond Hill, Ontario, losing it in what really isn't always a bad spot. But you know what I suspect has happened here? He has kissed those tires, and the tires have actually sprung the car.
They're trying to see if he's okay. I think he's all right. They're trying to get him out, but my guess is there'll be a red flag. Yes, a red flag. And with less than 2 minutes to go, they're red flagging this race.
They're going to bring it to an end.
It's over.
And Kenny Wilden acknowledging the red flag, and he will win this opening round of the Michelin Enduro Series.
In second place, Paul Duckworth. What a wonderful job he did to displace Morant, who finishes 3rd. And believe it or not, Lee Benton finishes 4th, even though he stopped the race with the rollover in corner 5 on the last lap.
And the gamble for Morant and Lockhart just didn't work out as they finished 3rd. Wilden Wilkins are your winners.
Well, I feel great. I can't say enough about that for the crew and Goodwrench and the help from GM, and it's just been fantastic. We've been just going at it every single night for the last 3 weeks, and this is for the crew. I mean, they work so hard. The car ran flawless. The team pit stops ran flawless, and the car ran great. I couldn't ask for a better car. The Z28's an awesome car.
In sports class, the winner is John Shirk in his Honda Prelude.
Well, we're pretty excited. We got the older car, the Integra, working very well, and then the new Prelude that I was driving was working fantastic also. And I don't know, we never had a two-car team before, and it was a lot of work getting it together, but it worked out fantastic. So we're really happy with the result.
And what a battle in touring. Rob Vining, the winner. Acura beats Nissan.
Now, if we can keep it up the rest of the season, that's great, considering I sort of last minute got in the seat. It was supposed to be for some guys from the U.S., and they bailed out. So, yeah, it's a good start to the season.
It's a great start to what we expect will be a very exciting season of racing here on the Michelin Enduro Series. Just a reminder, we'll be back with you again from Mont Tremblant with Race 2, December the 2nd at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So till then, on behalf of John Powell and our entire crew, I'm Vic Rauter. Thanks for joining us, and goodbye from Mosport.
2020 Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame inductee Kenny Wilden takes the victory at Mosport. And speaking of Mosport, you can't forget about Harvey Hughes and his general manager Miles Brandt, who were both in the hall. Both were instrumental in making Mosport the legendary circuit that it was and still is today. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
From the Vault is brought to you by M-Zone, premium auto care, proudly owned and made by Canadians. By Recap Recovery Drink. By WeatherTech. For the perfect fit and ultimate in-vehicle protection, nothing protects like WeatherTech. Order online at weathertech.ca. And by the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame. Visit our website for hall merchandise.